I want to shift to immigration. The New York Times, in its latest reporting, has uncovered, they say, at least nine cases in which parents have been separated from their children after they refused to comply with deportation orders. That, according to internal government documents, case files, and interviews. Let's discuss this with Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch, immigration attorney, owner-CEO of Lincoln-Goldfinch Law in Austin, Texas, on the X at attorney KLG. Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch, welcome back to POTUS. Thanks for being here.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Explain how this particular policy is working, separation as a result of refusal to comply with deportation orders. How does this work?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I've only read the New York Times article about people with, presumably this is parents and or children with removal orders who are taken to the airport to be deported. Maybe the kids don't have removal orders. And in the story in the New York Times, these are parents who, it is reported, were not willing to get on the flight because they are asylum seekers. But what I can say is that in my practice as an immigration lawyer, I can think of 3 clients that have currently separated from their children in detention who did not have removal orders. In fact, all 3 of them were current asylum seekers with open cases, no criminal history. One of them is a man from Venezuela, a single father, whose 6-year-old, he was told he was going to be processed for a day, and he left his 6-year-old son in the care of a neighbor. Then ICE told him if he signed his removal, they would reunite them and deport them together. That was 4 months ago, and the boy is now in CPS state custody. I have another client of asylum seekers, 4 of them with 2 young.
Sorry, we're having a little problem with our connection here. Maybe we can reestablish it and see if we can get a little bit better connection with Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. Kate, you were discussing some of the cases that you have specifically that you've been working with, and I think you were on case number 2. But again, flesh out for us what exactly this separation is constituted by.
Sure. So in this case, this family is an asylum-seeking family. They were detained at a check-in. So they're going through a legal process, no criminal history. They go to their check-in. They get detained and then separated and sent to separate detention centers, mom in one, dad in another, the kids in an entirely separate detention center. And then in case number 3, the same thing. The oldest daughter was sent to a different detention center. And what happens in these situations is that it won't be a surprise to anyone that there's no individual within the government who's responsible for coordinating these families and making sure their cases stay with the same court and in the same judge, and that the kids don't get on a separate docket, and then everybody can speak to each other, or that CPS is told that this parent can still have contact with their child. No one cares about any of that. So these people just go to separate places, and then the work of us, as lawyers, as advocates, is actually the first step is just to get them in contact with each other. And it's devastating and heartbreaking. And these are, again, asylum-seeking families. These are people who came to this country to seek protection. They've done nothing wrong, and it is heartbreaking. And I really hope that we see the same public reaction that we did to the first round of family separation to what's happening now, because I think it was that caused the to shift in 2018.
Is this all based on the asylum seekers that we were discussing here? And that's number 1. And number 2, is there a backlog in processing these asylum seekers' cases?
I've only seen the asylum seekers, and in my cases, it's people that entered during the Biden administration and many of them legally. So people who entered under the parole program for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, Venezuelans, or people who entered using the CBP One app. Them are even legal entrants. And they're not in a backlog necessarily. And we know that the immigration court, yes, has a backlog. But these people are not suffering sort of any irregular challenges or difficulty with their cases. They're attending their court hearings. They're filing their asylum applications. They're going to their ICE check-ins. I mean, nothing is wrong looking at these cases. What the difference is that the Trump administration has decided that they want to go after the people that entered during the Biden administration. And, they tell us that they're only after people who are lawbreakers or, people who overstayed a removal order. That is not the case. That's not what I'm seeing in practice. These are people who are in a legal process. So for all the Republicans that say, I support legal immigration, I'm here for that, this is what is happening. People who are going through and accessing the legal process are being ripped away from their children is completely unacceptable. It's absolutely heartbreaking. I'm glad to see the New York Times is reporting on this, and I hope that more people talk about what's happening.
I appreciate you joining us, Kate. Thanks so much for being on POTUS.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.